Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for a thrill. We have stories of the dead coming back to life
to tell of the
downright evil.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy
the All-American Spookshow.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the All-American Spookshow Podcast. As always, I'm Josh, and I'm joined with Will.
Hey!
And the Professor Smoke.
What's up?
And we have been on extended spring break. I know it's been a little while since episode 9 for various reasons, like legitimate spring break, vacations, other smaller trips, just life getting in the way. We weren't able to record a new episode until today.
Look, we can't all be jet setters like Josh, so it's your fault.
Yeah. I'm all around the world. But this episode that we're bringing to you this week is a doozy. We're going to be talking about I guess it's the 2013 movie, although it didn't come out until 2015. Eli Roth movie, The Green Inferno, an homage to the old Italian cannibal movies. So yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later on. So I guess it's been a little while, guys. Will, what you been up to for the last month or so?
Living life. How about you?
Living the dream.
You're speaking to my ghost. Josh, he died 10 years ago.
Just the same old like everybody else, man. Just working and taking care of the family. Say like as far as TV, I think I'm like most of the free world. I'm watching Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Went and saw the Avengers.
Yes. Avengers Endgame. Smoke, you've seen it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Now, before we say another word, if you haven't listened to this show before, we do spoilers. We spoil the hell out of everything. Now, I'm sure we'll have a little small discussion here about Avengers Endgame. So if you haven't seen it, you might want to pause it, stop it, whatever. Go check that out. I'm sure you have by now, but if you haven't, you may not want to go any further. And same goes for the Green Inferno or any other movie that we do here on the show. We spoil things, so just be aware. To advance at your own risk. So, what did you guys think of Endgame? We'll kind of talk about that just for a few minutes.
For me, I mean, just the original watching of it. I mean, I loved it. After you sit there and think about things for a little while, you can nitpick a ton, but I'd say overall, I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, I'd say for me too, the initial, I've only seen it once so far, so that initial viewing I loved it as well. I mean, and then like I said, when you're afterwards too, you think maybe things were a little bit rushed to get from point A to point B, but then I also heard that there was a much longer cut, so I don't know how much truth there was to that. I haven't looked into that.
But
that they had to pick some out to make it the 3 hours. So. But yeah, I love that initial viewing of it.
I mean, it's slightly over 3 hours, and I'm sure they left a lot on the cutting room floor. This could have easily been a 4-hour movie.
All right.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like Will said, I've only seen it the one time, but I'm sure if you, if you pick, you can pick at scabs, and you'll find things wrong with it. And, I mean, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with it. I just think maybe I would have went a different direction in a couple of spots.
Yeah.
But I think overall it was done really well. I mean, that's a tough job to basically bring together 21 movies, right? I think that's what it was before this.
I believe so.
It's either 20 or 21 movies leading up to that movie. And I think they did a really good job of tying almost a little bit of every single one of those movies into this movie.
Yeah, and you're talking about how long has it been since, 13 years?
It's been 11 years since Iron Man
11
came
years,
out. Yeah. So for 11 years from the first Iron Man movie to this. Yeah. And like I said, I think it's either 20 or 21 movies in between. So that's a lot of heavy lifting for one movie to kind of bring it all to a closure, so to speak. I mean, even though the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is going to continue,
Still going, yeah.
yeah, this kind of is the end of this chapter. You know, this of everything you've seen up to this point is kind of the end of that.
This very, very long, overreaching story arc.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job of tying up some loose ends, and paying tribute or respect or whatever to almost every single one of those movies leading up to this. You know, there's something almost from everything.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a few seconds. I didn't see it myself, but I heard even Howard the Duck's in it for about.
That was weird. I was on the same wavelength. I was just about to mention that after you
Yeah.
Howard the Duck's in there too.
Literally,
with the gun.
literally, what I didn't see it myself, but what I read is he's in it for 18 frames. That's it.
Yep, I saw
Just
it.
over half a
online. Yeah, I didn't see it either, but I saw something online where they had somebody taken the freeze frame from it and put it up.
Yeah, apparently it's the big scene toward the end when all the heroes come back and like Doctor Strange has opened up the little portals and they're all coming through. One of those little portals, he jumps out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that just shows you the attention to detail. I mean they threw everything they possibly could think of in there, and there's probably some things in there even the keenest of eyes didn't even catch. I mean it's got everything in it. It was really well done. So Will, have you done or seen anything else over the last other than Game of Thrones, Avengers, anything else?
Watched Alien Covenant last night. Oh man, I'm sure I've seen like a ton of stuff. I'm just kind of blanking on what it is. I mean, I've been keeping up with The Flash on CW. Started watching Star Wars with my little girl.
Did you start from episode 1 or episode 4?
Started from episode 1.
Okay.
So,
You gotta bring her down to bring her up.
There you go.
Smoke, what about you? What you been getting into the last month or so?
Well, let's see. As far as watching things, I saw The Curse of La Llorona. That was that James Wan produced movie that.
Now, is that in the Conjuring universe? Or is that?
When I first saw the trailer on it, I don't remember it linking anything at that time to the Conjuring universe, and I mean, other than I knew it was produced by James Wan, but when I was looking at it online, it did mention that it was linked, and then seeing the movie that it's linked, but it's very tenuous. It's kind of like seems like it was forced. It's like this. Do you remember this incident that happened at such and such? Where they tied it into The Conjuring and to Annabelle. And that was pretty much it. There was no character, real linkage or anything like that, and it was just kind of. I mean, it was. Didn't really enjoy it that much. So and I've known about it a lot.
So it's only in the fringe of the Conjuring universe.
Yes, yeah. It's like they just force it. Like how can we? What can we do to tie this movie into The Conjuring? Oh, we can just put this line in here about Annabelle or the events that happened in The Conjuring.
Hey, those movies made money. Let's try to piggyback.
Yeah. And that might have been what it was, just to get another some extra bucks out of it, because I'm familiar with the La Llorona legend and everything. It's a legend in Mexico about the crying woman that basically people hear, and then supposedly drowned. She drowned her children, and if you hear her, then she's coming after your children. And it's definitely has potential for making a good horror movie. It's just this wasn't it. And there was one back in the 60s, I believe it is, I've seen, that was made in Mexico. It was actually a lot better than this one, and it was really low budget stuff. So yeah, that was disappointing. Saw, of course, the Avengers, like we mentioned. TV wise, I haven't. I've been wanting to watch the Twilight Zone, but I haven't dove into that yet either.
Same here, man. Everything keeps coming up, and I just haven't been able to watch it yet.
But theatrical movies, I think that's the only two that I think we've been kind of. Oh, there hasn't been a whole lot out there right now that I'd really want to see in the theater besides Avengers and like I said, I saw that La Llorona, hoping it would be better than what it was, but it wasn't.
Well, there's some good ones coming up though. The new Godzilla movie is coming.
Yes, you're definitely looking forward to that one.
Oh, and I think it's next week. I think it's Memorial Day weekend. Brightburn comes out.
Oh yeah,
definitely looking forward to that.
That looks awesome.
Yeah.
But I know, Josh, you've been waiting for Detective Pikachu for a while.
Yes, wait, I did see that too. I did see that.
I may not have been waiting for it, but I actually went and saw it yesterday.
What'd you think of it?
My son's big into Pokemon, so he's all about it.
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty good. It was probably a little better than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I would say that too.
But those kind of movies, if you go in with a pretty low bar, you'll probably enjoy it. So
Yeah. I went.
Yeah.
Well, I went into it not knowing much. I know of Pokemon and I know Pikachu, but other than a couple of that, maybe one or two other characters. Like I never played the game or really watched the show or anything.
Me either.
So,
I haven't cared one bit, honestly, about it whatsoever over the last 20 years. But my son, because my son enjoys, all that stuff, I've kind of learned a little bit about it because of that.
Yeah.
So I think if you have a better knowledge of it going in, you'll probably enjoy it a little better. But I think, even if you have a limited knowledge, I think you still enjoy it.
Yeah, that's what I was say too, because not having hardly any knowledge of it other than by name and the name Pikachu.
Yeah. So
I still enjoyed it.
Well, see, I watched it at home, and the weird thing that I thought was like, shows this kid walking into a room, and then Pikachu dances for like an hour and a half.
Now I saw that. I saw that, like, Ryan Reynolds put out a copy of the whole movie, and then when you start watching it, like the credits start, the movie starts where like the main kid is walking down the street and he looks to the left, and then it's Pikachu dancing for like an hour and a half.
And they just looped it for an hour and a half.
Yeah, just the whole thing is just him dancing for an hour and a half. But no, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it for what it was. Yeah, I mean, like I'm not able to get out to the theater. Like I've said a handful of times, I'm just not able to get out to the theater very much unless it's something like that, Right. So I got to see that, and obviously I went and made time to go see Endgame. But I still haven't seen Shazam, and I wanted to see that. I don't even know if it's still out or not, but I still haven't got to see that yet.
Yeah, we haven't seen Shazam yet either. No, I still wanted to, but I've wanted to see it since I saw the trailer, but.
There's a couple others I wanted to see, but I'm just gonna have to wait until they're on Blu-ray at this point, probably, because now they're gonna start piling up. I want to make an effort to see Shazam if it's still out somewhere, but other than that, I'm probably just gonna have to wait because I definitely want to see Brightburn. I want to see the new Godzilla. Dark Phoenix is coming out. I think that first weekend of June, and a handful of others. So I mean, they're gonna start piling up. When we got It 2 coming later this year, right? That's in September, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I'm blanking. I know the 3 from Hell is supposed to be coming out in October, I guess, right?
Yeah, hopefully it'll still be on track, but I haven't heard anything otherwise.
Yeah, hopefully. Seems like there's a couple other horror movies that I'm blanking on right now. They're supposed to be coming out later this year, but so the calendar is going to be full. We'll have plenty to watch. Myself, as far as TV and stuff, I've been catching up on stuff on Netflix. I watched that Ted Bundy, the little 4-part documentary that they had. I'm liking it on Netflix. I watched that, and then I started all back too. Yeah. And then I started watching that new Zac Efron Ted Bundy movie, which I can't remember the name of. It's got a long title, something disturbingly evil or something like that, whatever it's called. Yeah. I started watching that. I got about halfway through it, and then I got distracted and forgot to go back and finish it, but it was pretty good.
That was another one I forgot to mention too. I did see that because it's been such a long. I know it's been a long gap before we did our last episode. I couldn't remember some of the things, but now that you're mentioning like Pikachu, I'd forgotten. Yeah, I've seen that, and that Zac Efron movie on Ted Bundy. I saw that as well.
Yeah. It's like I said, I watched about half of it. It's pretty good. I mean, I think he nails the look and the creepiness of Ted Bundy. Yeah. I mean, he's got that. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just catching up on this, that, and the other thing, just watching random movies here and there. So I guess that leads us to what we came here for today is to discuss / review the 2013/2015 movie, Eli Roth movie, The Green Inferno. So I guess without further ado, here is the trailer for The Green Inferno. All right, so that was the trailer for The Green Inferno. So I guess before we go into the the behind the scenes and the stats and all that stuff, Will, what was you've never seen this before, right?
Never.
What were your initial thoughts after watching it?
After watching it, it was okay. While I was watching it, wasn't the biggest fan. But I guess I'm just not into the cannibal movies. So. How about you, Smoke?
Well, I saw it I first heard about it, I guess, back in 2012 or 2013, whenever he first mentioned about shooting it, having, come up on a lot of those Italian cannibal movies. I kind of know what the direction was he was wanting to go with it but was it going to be like any of those? Was going to be my reaction to it because I'd already been familiar with all those movies. So, and then also I think Eli Roth. You come to Eli Roth, either he's kind of polarizing, I guess, in a way, like Rob Zombie or like Quentin Tarantino, where a lot of people either love or hate him, his movies. So, because he injects certain things into most all of his movies, like humor that's maybe out of place or whatever. Some people, and like, what was he going to do to it that way in that direction? So, when it finally did come out, I saw it in the theater. It had like a limited run, I think. At least here, where I'm at in South Carolina, we saw it in one weekend. I think it played or whatever. So that initial reaction was like, yeah, I see where he was going with it. I saw the nods and the homages to some of the other cannibal movies, and initially it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of mediocre. Yeah, it was okay. And then I've seen it a couple of other times since, and it's grown on me a little bit more in those other viewings, So
Myself, this is the first time I had seen it. Honestly, I'd barely even heard of it. It seems like I remember it kind of vaguely, but I guess it must not have played very wide. Or at least if it did, it just didn't make much of a splash in my view at the time. And so I didn't go see it or anything. And like I said, I barely heard of it.
Well, also think this was during your phase of being obsessed with My Little Pony. So.
Oh, yeah, well, I was a brony for a while there. So.
You're a brony? Trying to go to the convention and everything?
Yeah. But no, I mean, I don't know. This one just kind of escaped me, I guess, and I just never, went back around to catch it. But I enjoyed it. I think I kind of land where Willie is. I ain't gonna say I hated it. I ain't gonna say I disliked it. But and we'll get into that. I think here shortly. Yeah. But I just think it is what it is. I don't think it's his best. That's for sure.
No, I don't either.
One thing that I will say, and I've brought this up to Josh before since watching it, man, Eli Roth in this movie particularly, is very heavy-handed with his foreshadowing.
Oh yeah.
It's not like something like going on and it's like a passing thing. It's like, hey, pay attention to this. Look, damn it, look.
It just grabs you by the head, by your nose.
Subtle.
Look. No, but I don't think Eli Roth and subtle have ever been said in the same sentence. To be fair, so yeah, this movie was released on September 25th, 2015, by Universal Pictures, Blumhouse Tilt, which I guess is like a little offshoot of Blumhouse, and High Top Releasing. Apparently, from what I could gather, and this was a direct quote from an article I found, it said the film was intended to be released theatrically on September 5th, 2014, so a little over a full year prior, by Open Road Films. However, financial difficulties with that production company, Worldview Entertainment, caused Open Road to pull it from its original release. I guess for whatever reason, it just got shelved for another year until Universal and Blumhouse stepped in and got this thing finally, to the masses. So I guess that was the reason, basically. And so the total runtime of the movie is an hour and 40 minutes. So it's about your average length for most movies, maybe a tad longer than your average horror movie, but not by much. Its budget, from what I could tell, was somewhere between $5 and $6 million. It opened the same weekend, that September 25th, 2015, as Hotel Transylvania 2. So it got rolled up. Hotel Transylvania 2 made $48.5 million that weekend. This movie made $3.5 million. Although I think it was in the top 10, but it barely, that particular weekend. It went on to make $7.2 million in the U.S. and Canada, so domestically, and $12.9 million worldwide, so almost $13 million worldwide. So it didn't make a lot of money.
Yeah, and I think maybe that probably had a lot to do with the target thing, because if you think about it, I've been a fan of Italian horror movies and cannibal movies and all that stuff, and there are some others out there, but there's not a huge following enough to make it pay off in the homage that he was looking for as far as the Italian cannibal genre.
Yeah, I'd say that's
just a labor of love, I guess, on his part for something that he wanted to put out.
Because that's definitely one thing, because it was shot from what I found, it was shot in Peru, Chile, and New York City. So I mean, I'm sure a big part of that budget was just going to these locations.
Yeah.
I found this kind of funny. It was rated R for aberrant violence and torture, grisly, disturbing images, brief graphic nudity, sexual content, language, and some drug use. like somebody smoking a joint is the biggest problem with this movie.
I haven't. That would be something we need to look into maybe at some point in the ratings, how they give things. Because if you have any drug use at all, is that going to automatically constitute an R rating, or does something fall in the PG-13 area? I remember one time I heard if you smoke a cigarette in a movie, that's going to be an automatic R rated because of the whole cigarette campaign on.
It wouldn't surprise. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me since the last 15 or 20 years have been so strongly against smoking. So I guess that wouldn't surprise me. Isn't there a certain
amount? You can see the let up on violence too, like violence back in the '80s. You remember in the early '90s, if it was a splatter movie or slasher movie or something like that, it was this double catch-22 thing there. If you make this splatter movie or a horror movie, you're gonna probably get your stuff cut out of it. But if you go and make this this thriller or action film, you get a lot more gore. Like if you look at Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom versus whatever slasher movie was out at the time, there's more gore in Indiana Jones than there was in any slasher movie that came out that year, I'm sure. So I think there was this war on slasher movies back then as far as morality and everything.
Isn't there a certain amount of fucks that you can say too before, like, can't you get away with like one or two fucks?
One or two in a PG-13 maybe?
In a PG-13, yeah. And then like if you say one more, it's a rated R, something like that.
Yeah, we'll have to do some research on the MPAA ratings at some point.
I'm sure our good friend Adam Porcher over at the Hero Movie Podcast and the Film Find, I'm sure he probably knows more about how they do that, that part.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk with him one of these days.
And being a huge horror fan and going back to the '80s and everything, I've always been, a hater of the MPAA back then. Anyway. Well, now there's a lot more violence that gets through. There's a lot more. You could not get any of the stuff that was in Green Inferno in an R-rated movie back when those Italian cannibal movies were coming out too.
Yeah,
that would have been excised.
Especially, I'm sure that specifically the one big scene in this movie.
And that's probably why it was able to get an R rating, is because of that one scene. Because if they had gone into more that type of stuff, then they would have been. I'm sure they would have had to cut out some and make it would have been unrated or an X unless they had trimmed some of it out. So they had to probably get everything they could into that one scene.
So, like I said, this movie was shot in Peru, Chile, and New York. Best I can tell, filming started like early November of 2012 and ended like basically just before Christmas 2012. So it took them a while to put this thing together after that. If it wasn't even supposed to come out until September 2014, that's still over a year and a half before it would have come out. And like I said, or like we've discussed already, it was a homage to Cannibal Holocaust and other Italian cannibal films of the like late 80s or late 70s, early 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, now I saw this, and Smoke, you might know a little bit more about this part, where the name of the movie came from, because me and Will were talking about it. It's like, what the hell does that mean? Like the Green Inferno. But what I saw was that apparently in Cannibal Holocaust, there's a film within a film called The Green Inferno.
Right. Yeah, the documentary filmmakers in Cannibal Holocaust had shot this called The Green Inferno first. Yeah. Green Inferno just being a reference to when you see the tops of the trees in the Amazon. I mean, all you see is this green, just because of the top of the jungle and everything.
That's kind of what we thought the illusion was, but I didn't really think about it too much, honestly, until Will asked me that the other day. It's like, why the hell is this called The Green Inferno? There was no green fires.
Well, but like,
and I guess the heat of the Amazon, I guess, maybe.
I guess the only other thing that kind of popped into my head is like towards the end of the film, the guy and the ants.
Oh yeah,
they covered him in a green paste, and I'm sure ants burn. So
I think I saw in passing too that the original working title of Cannibal Holocaust was The Green Inferno. Now there
actually has been another. I think that might have been a titling of Cannibal Holocaust, or at least one of its adherents in other countries. I mean, in all these other countries where those Italian cannibal movies were released, Germany, wherever, Austria, all these places, a lot of them called it a different title. And I believe in Green Inferno, it might have been called that in one other country too.
So either way you slice it, I mean, it's definitely getting its name from something to do with Cannibal Holocaust, one way or the other. It sounds like to me. It stars Lorenza Izzo as Justine, and she's from Chile, and she's also, I didn't know if y'all caught this or not, the ex-wife of Eli Roth.
No, did not realize that.
Apparently, they got married in November of 2014, so this would have been right around the time that it was originally supposed to come out, but it didn't come out until September 2015. But anyways, they got married in November of 2014, but they got divorced last summer in July of 2018. So they were together almost 4 years, and I don't think they had any kids or anything like that. But from what I could tell, it was kind of an amicable split. It's just, we'll still be friends, but we're not going to be married, kind of thing. But because I thought there had to have been some type of connection to it too, to her too, because apparently she's in a few other things that he's done.
Oh, okay.
So there was definitely a connection here. So I looked a little bit further into it, and sure enough, they were married. Which means they might have even have been dating at the time this movie was made. I don't know. Since they got married, a year later, so there's a good chance. Also, you remember the part in the movie? I'll just mention this now because I saw the note of it. You remember the part of the movie where she's in the Amazon
Yeah,
in
that's
the river?
just about the entire movie, Josh.
No. That's the Green Inferno. Good night, everybody. The Amazon River, jackass. Remember when she's in the river? Right? Are you with me? Remember when she's drowning in the river? Apparently, she almost really drowned. Like what you see, like that part where she's like holding on to the rock and she's screaming for the dude.
Yeah.
Like she's literally
terror.
Yeah, like she's legitimately about to drown. It said the screams in the final film are her screaming for her life, and she was rescued when the stunt supervisor realized she wasn't acting and was yelling cut, and she started yelling cut in Spanish. That's when they're like, oh shit, and they had to pull her out.
Meanwhile, the camera guy's like, oh man, this is good.
Yeah, damn. She's a hell of an actress. And she's
getting an Oscar for this one.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to put all my actors through the rigors that Rodrigo Deodato or Umberto Lenzi put his through when he made their movies.
What do they call that? Is that method acting? Right? Is that what that is? All right, here's the method. I'm gonna toss you into the fucking Amazon, and make you drown. Go.
You can swim, right?
This also stars Ariel Levy as Alejandro. He's the jackass of the group.
You always got to have one of those. You got to have one of those in Italian movies too.
Also from Chile. Yeah. It also stars Daryl Sabara as Lars. Now he's the curly-headed, red-haired guy.
Oh yeah.
You would know him from all 4 Spy Kids movies. You may remember from Cabin Fever, the original in 2000. Both Hostel movies. The Thanksgiving trailer in Grindhouse. And and Inglourious Bastards. He was like the big Jew guy in Inglourious Bastards.
That's right.
Yeah. That's Quentin Tarantino. Also, he did Eli Roth did the screenplay with another guy named Guillermo Amoto, and it was one of the executive producers at least was Jason Blumhouse and all that. So I'm sure they threw that on there once he got a hold of the rights to help put the movie out or whatever. On IMDb, it gets 5.3 out of 10 stars. It's not horrible. It's over 50%. And but on Rotten Tomatoes, they're not as friendly. The tomato meter, it gets 37% out of 89 reviews, which that's not very good. And it actually, the rare exception here where the audience gave it a lower score, it got a 30%. Usually it's the other way around. If the critics like it at all, the audience is going to, if they don't like it, the audience is going to love it, vice versa, right? This one's actually a little flip-flop. The critics liked it a little more. So the synopsis on Rotten Tomatoes is, from acclaimed horror director Eli Roth, The Green Inferno follows a group of student activists who travel from New York City to the Amazon to save the rainforest. However, once they arrive in this vast green landscape, they soon discover that they are not alone and that no good deed goes unpunished. So any final word about anything you guys wanted to talk about before we dive in, or that set it up nicely, or what do you think?
I think that's good. That maybe certain reasons why the critic score versus the audience score is not as good also might be that even though he was aiming at an homage to Italian cannibal movies, and maybe he was hoping that the people also that like Italian cannibal movies would like this one. I think that's where maybe some of that audience versus critic thing is in there, because even though he was aiming for that, it didn't. A lot of times when you're watching it, I'm feeling like, well, maybe I should just be watching Cannibal Holocaust because it doesn't, it touches on it and gives you get that feel a little bit, but I don't think it applied itself well enough to fans of those movies to make them give it a good rating.
Actually, one thing that I read online, I didn't realize that this was part of a trilogy.
So yeah, it's almost like Will, what you were talking about is like when we watched Suspiria back in what like episode 3 or 4, whatever it was, earlier on, late last year. How there was kind of like this is more directed toward you, Smoke, where there was like kind of like a loose trilogy involving Suspiria.
The Three Mothers trilogy, yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like that. What you were talking about with the
connection of these movies.
Yeah, with the loose, it's almost like a connection, but a loose connection between. What did you say?
Hostel and Cabin Fever.
Cabin Fever. Then both Hostel movies, and then this. What did you say it was called again?
I think it was called Travel and Punishment or something like that.
Okay. So Smoke, it almost sounds like it's that, where there's like a connection, but a loose connection with a trilogy. It's almost thematically, right? Yeah.
It seems like he's just all of those movies that were coming out at subsequently behind each one were that same theme.
I
go somewhere and get killed. Go somewhere exotic.
I kind of feel like it's what we were talking about a little while ago, where it's in the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
By the way, none of these universes I want to live in.
Yeah, I was about to say, what a hellacious universe. Especially since if you're really going on that theory, like the universe would be almost obliterated by Cabin Fever.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if anybody's seen any of the sequels of that one yet.
I saw
the original.
I've only seen the original, and I haven't seen the remake of Cabin Fever either.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah. I wasn't really looking forward to that when I saw that it was a thing. I'm like, you know what? There's really no need to mess with that, and it hasn't been that long ago.
No.
I don't
see. Oh, go ahead.
I don't think the visual effects have changed that much where that needs to be redone.
No.
Besides, I mean, like, what do you really need to do visual effects wise to make that any better?
3 fingers.
Oh. So they gave him an extra $5 million in the budget to put 3 fingers.
Oh Lord.
That's a T-shirt.
3 fingers.
3 fingers.
No, it was funny. Like when I was watching this, for the podcast, I was watching it when my family wasn't at home because
I would hope so.
Considering I've got a 5 and a 1-year-old, why are they eating eyeballs?
Don't worry about it. It's homework.
Leave me alone, God. So they're not home. I'm watching it, and it's like shortly after, like the more horrific scene of the movie, and I hear the door opening. I think I had left the garage door open that day, so I didn't even get like the advance warning that they're about to come in. Mm-hmm. So I hear the door open into our laundry room, which leads straight into the living room where I'm watching it. And I swear to God, it felt like I was like a little kid watching a dirty movie.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
turn it off before the parents walk in.
Whoa! Don't come in here! Don't come in here! And my wife's like, "What are you watching?"
And more importantly, why are your pants off?
That's how I do it, God.
It's for the podcast.
I was just putting the Depends on, I swear.
Yeah. So usually this is where we go into the ins and outs of the movie, and I go play by play, blow by blow. I got to be honest with you, I'm not really feeling like doing that for the first 30 minutes of this movie, because to me, the first 30 minutes or so of this movie are so throwaway. And I get that he had to set the scene, but it felt like I was watching like a late 90s college campus movie. Just waiting for the laughs that never come. I don't know. It's just like the first, to me, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I read it wrong. I don't know. How did you guys feel? Like, I just didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really enjoy the first 30, 35 minutes of this movie.
Well, y'all didn't get the nuances of. No, I'm kidding. I'm the only serious. It's like they just set all this up just so they can get to the jungle and get to the group.
Yeah, like, you just don't settle in on the subtleties of college life and how it is to be a protester. See, I'll kind of briefly go through it here. So Justine is a college student who, for whatever reason, she kind of falls in with this protest group, and it's kind of loose. Like, is she doing it because she really wants to do it, or is she just doing it because she's got the hots for this Alejandro guy who's like the leader of the group, who clearly has a girlfriend, because the girlfriend kind of interjects herself every time she, like she looks at Alejandro, all of a sudden the girlfriend's there, like, to keep your nose out of my business. Yeah. Like, I don't care, right, about any of this.
So this is something that Eli Roth didn't learn from the Italian cannibal movies, because pretty much in all the Italian cannibal movies, it starts, most of them start in New York, and then stuff happens there, and then they end up getting to the jungle eventually. And yeah, you have to have some throwaway scenes, I guess, to get to that jungle action stuff, but they did it better, and definitely in the Italian movies, as far as keeping you interested or amused at some of the stuff that happens, say, in some of Umberto Lenzi's movies before you get to that scene. So it's, you can at least enjoy that stuff.
So basically, they're like at a college campus, I'm assuming in New York. I don't even know if they even established that, but I think it's in New York. And there's like a protest group who is protesting this construction company or something, or maybe they're what is this company that goes into the jungles?
It's like taking down, I guess, cutting down trees and building.
They're cutting down the rain. They're cutting down the rainforest, but what's the purpose of it? Are they trying underground for oil or diamonds or some shit? I don't even know what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what the development was. It's some kind of development of some kind, whether they were gonna.
Yeah, I think it was natural resources.
Natural resources.
Yes, whatever. Once again, I guess it doesn't really matter. They were cutting down the rainforest, and this college protest group decides, like, hey, we're gonna go there and we're gonna protest. Like, basically, we're gonna go there and we're gonna strap ourselves to the trees and the construction equipment, so they'll stop doing what they're doing, because they're going to destroy this tribe's natural habitat or whatever, this area. They're destroying the rainforest shit. So they kind of get their stuff together, and they have a sponsor that it lives down in that funds the trip or whatever. So a group of how many would you say there was? Probably about 15 to 20 college kids, something like that, a dozen or so, maybe more. They get into a plane and they go down to wherever the hell this is supposed to be. What is it? The Amazon? So what is that? Peru, I guess they're supposed to be, or Chile, one or the other. They go down there, and there was one funny part when they get there. They ride around in these little motorbikes,
almost like motorized. What is it? Penny carts or whatever.
Yeah, they're like cycle. Yeah, those rickshaws, kind of like motorized rickshaws.
Motorized rickshaw.
Yeah. It's kind of like what they are. And did you notice they had names on the back of them? I found as many names as I could, and these are so random. I guess the bikes have names. One's called Madonna.
But it was spelled with one N, right?
yeah. Something spelled weird. One is called Brad Pitt. One is Rocky IV. I thought that was random. Rocky IV. Not just Rocky, but Rocky IV. One's called Bruce Lee, another's called MacGyver, and they have other names that you can't tell, whatever. But I caught that in the brief little glimpses. I thought that was kind of funny. That's about the best part of the first 30 minutes of this movie, is seeing what the name of these rickshaw carts are. They eventually get to the hotel, and then Alejandro, who's like the leader of the group, tells them that, like, yeah, this is dangerous. I guess this is the first time they realize that this could be dangerous. Like, yeah, these guys are armed and you could be shot. And they're like, what? So.
It's time to refresh. For your convenience, we have an attractive refreshment stand with a parade of items to tempt your taste. Hot buttered popcorn, golden good and fresh from the popper. Your favorite candies, wholesome and rich and full of flavor. Ice cream and other good things to eat. Plus, ice-cold Coca-Cola. So bright, so bracing, with a taste and tingle all its own.
Eventually, finally, they go there and they chain themselves to these things. They, the girlfriend of Alejandro does the old switcheroo with the padlock for Justine's chains. So when everybody else is chaining themselves up, the construction equipment, the trees or whatever, she's trying to chain herself up and she's trying to lock it, but it won't lock. And then,
since we skipped over the beginning part of this movie, it's very, again, it was very heavy-handed that they are using this girl from the get-go, like taking random pictures of her, just a couple other things. Like they're taking advantage of this girl, and they knew her, like her backstory.
Yeah, because of her father.
Yeah,
right?
because of her father. Yeah.
Yes, that's also it's a good point. I skipped over that. Her father is like a member of the UN or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is a UN secretary or a lawyer or something to do with the United Nations.
Yeah.
So there is a UN connection there that they eventually try to exploit, and that's what we're leading into with this. Also, I'll point out toward the beginning of it, when they go to class, I don't even know what kind of class this is, but they're talking about female genital mutilation in this class.
Tribals, the tribes in the Amazon.
Yeah, and they really go in depth there to tell you what they do. They basically they scrape out the innards of the vagina and then they sew it shut and they bind their legs or something to heal it up, to make that and that's like a rite of passage in these tribes. And then they show you something about these deadly or dangerous ants that are that they use in these tribes or whatever. So they make it a point to show you this on the screen in this college class. So you kind of set the scene with that. Once again, foreshadowing.
And that, I think that is one element he pulled out of some of the Italian cattle movies too, because a lot of them would start. You would have some kind of scene in the beginning that was kind of like that. Somebody's watching a educational film or something on this tribe, and you'll see some rites from that tribe. Then by the time they get to the Amazon and they're doing whatever it is they're there to do, of course they enact those same rites on them.
So they're trying to chain themselves up. She can't lock it, and then all these militia guys with these AK-47s or whatever, show up and they grab a hold of her, and because hers couldn't lock, they basically got her as a hostage. They're holding a gun to her head, they're going to take her out. And then Alejandro and the other ones, yell out that her dad's in the UN. So go ahead, do it. Now you're causing an international crisis, basically. That's when you realize, basically, they were just using her as a prop to get done what they wanted to get done. And also, I'll point out, they were live streaming this on their phones. So the whole world could see this atrocity going on. So basically, they just arrest them all, put them back on the plane, and send them off. So they're on this is, all right, to me, up to this point, you can pretty much throw it away. I've described the first 35 minutes of the movie right there. So they're on the plane, heading back. And Justine is mad because she realized she's been used. Alejandro's like, yeah, fuck off. We use you for what we needed. You should have known. You shouldn't have been so naive, blah, blah, blah. So they're kind of going back and forth. And then, boom, one of the plane engines blows. This is a pretty cool plane crash sequence, I thought.
I think it was handled well.
Yeah, especially the plane going upside down, and they're all kind of getting tossed around because they're in this plane basically having a party because they've achieved what they wanted to achieve. So now not all of them are buckled up; they're just kind of flying all over the place. And the back of the tail of the plane flies off, and a few of them fly out. When the plane goes upside down, the big dude, I can't think of his name right away, but he throws up.
Yeah.
While they're going upside,
and it goes up his face because he's upside down.
So some of them are flying out of the back of the plane, and then a tree branch, because now they're down in the tree line. A tree branch just comes through the front window and just knocks the co-pilot's head clean off. Wham!
This might be a good point to mention at this time. This is when you really notice that the gore effects are pretty fucking amazing. And that's for a good reason, because they're handled by Greg Nicotero from Walking Dead.
Yeah, I noticed that. I saw that. I meant to mention that. Yeah. And honestly, and up to this point too, you haven't seen anything gross enough to to even speak of. I mean, there's been nothing. Yeah. Because we're literally 35, 40 minutes into the movie at this point, which I thought was crazy for a movie that's an hour and 40 minutes to have that much setup or whatever. I don't want to dwell on it. It is what it is. So now that the plane has crashed, they're on the ground, and there's people, that are severely injured and a few dead just scattered around. And then one of the guys freaks out and he walks right into the spinning plane propeller. Just whoa! bam, just knocks half his head off. So that's a hell of a way, right? You've survived the plane crash, but then you walk into the propeller freaking out. So then they're all still kind of around in the plane. It blows up, but it doesn't blow all the way up. There's kind of like a minor explosion. And then I guess one of the girls is strapped to a chair. She falls out of nowhere, like just out of the sky, or was it out of a tree? I don't know what the hell. I guess it was out of a tree.
I'm guessing that too. Yeah.
Just out of
she must have
nowhere,
been stuck in the tree and then fell at that moment.
And then fell. Yeah, like there's a girl that's still alive, and then she boom, just falls out of nowhere, still strapped to the chair. So then, like, they're kind of trying to regroup, and they look, and Kara looks through and sees some people in the jungle. I think Kara is, Kara is Alejandro's girlfriend. She's kind of been the jealous girlfriend up to this point. She's looking around, and she sees some people in the jungle. She's like, hey, there's somebody over there. And then a spear just flies out of nowhere and goes right through her neck. And that's when they realize they're in danger. Now the plane crash is out of your mind. Something else is going on here. She's about to pull out a gun and gets an arrow to the head. Wow. Then they all start getting blow darted, like, and they're just, I guess they got like these little knockout darts. They're just knocking out everybody that's still alive, basically. So then Justine wakes up and she's tied to a canoe. And the bald headhunter, which I think they actually call him the bald headhunter, like the lead guy, the guy that's on the poster with the yellow paint or whatever. He's riding with her in the canoe, and he says something to her, like basically, I guess the equivalent of "shut the fuck up." So then they arrive to the native tribe. There's like hundreds of tribesmen, men, women, little kids, half naked, basically. Just think of your prototypical, jungle tribe that you would imagine in your mind. That's what they look like.
And I'm assuming at this point, like as I'm watching the movie, I'm guessing this is going to play a little bit on irony. I'm guessing this is the same tribe that they were trying to save.
Yes, I think that is the assumption that yes, this is the one that they were basically trying to save from being bulldozed in the Amazon.
So kids, when you're going to protest in the middle of the Amazon, make sure you have a change of clothes.
Make sure it's not a cannibal tribe. Make sure it's one of those cool tribes that just lives, eats leaves and stuff. So yeah, like
caterpillars.
So basically, you realize there's like 6 or 7 canoes, and all of them are tied up in the canoes. They arrive on the beach. The native tribe just basically mobs them and starts like pawing at them and looking at them and stuff like this. And then eventually, the tribe leader comes out and she says something, and then they're ushered away into a cage. Except the big dude, his name's Jonah, by the way. Except Jonah, he's sick. I guess, maybe from the plane crash, maybe from the blow dart. I don't know, but he's clearly like, ill. He's sick.
Or maybe from throwing up.
Or maybe, yeah, that's what I mean. Like any of those things, he's sick. So they give him something to drink, and then they lay him down on a rock, and they're kind of standing around him, and then they pull this is pretty brutal. This is probably, I'd say, the single most brutal scene of the movie, right?
Yep. This is the movie's money shot now.
Basically, yeah. Because it's basically all uphill from here as far as the violence in my concern, or in my opinion. They pull one of his eyeballs out. Then they pull his other eye out, right? I think it's like his right eye first, then his left eye. Whatever the order, doesn't matter. He's only got 2. Then they eat it, right? Doesn't she immediately eat it? Like,
you just
take
pops
one
it in
eye,
the mouth.
eat it. Yeah, like a grape. The other eye, and then they pull his tongue, and then they cut like his tongue halfway off, and then she eats that, and then they just go to town. They like fucking, they chop off his right arm, then they chop off his left arm, or like maybe like his right leg, kind of work around. They cut his other leg off, cut his other arm off. He's basically nothing but a head and a torso. Then they cut his head off, and she's like holding his head up.
Very graphically done too.
Yeah,
very well. Heroes crew.
Yeah, like the whole time he's just like, screaming, as you would obviously, but it was a pretty messed up wail he was doing, as he's being chopped to death, alive.
Now, for those of you who are listening, we keep like a message group for all 3 of us, like going back and forth. And I think at this point, as I'm watching the movie, I'm sending Josh and Smoke a message, just like, what the hell?
Whose idea was this movie again?
Smoke, you bastard!
Son of a bitch! Yeah, they chop his head off, and then they start drinking the blood. They like hold his head up. I mean, it's a pretty graphic scene. But like I said, don't worry, folks. I mean, I think it's not quite as graphic from this point forward. That was pretty brutal. He spent a good portion of his budget right there for sure.
Yeah. The plane wreck and the guy getting chopped. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Boom.
And going back to the fans of the Italian cannibal movies, this was probably the scene they were kind of waiting for. I know, as far as if you judge by what those movies are, this was that scene.
And I don't claim to have watched a lot of those movies. I've seen bits and pieces of a lot of, some of those movies. I don't think they were quite that graphic.
Well, they were to the point that they could be that way, but they didn't have Greg Nicotero as
True,
as
but
an effect too. As much as they could, I guess they.
From what I remember, it was always like some of it was always inferred. It's like the old Halloween trick, like put your hand into this bowl while you're blindfolded, and it's the intestines of a grown man or something. And it's really spaghetti, or this is a bowl of eyeballs and it's like peeled grapes. Yeah. It's almost inferred like that. Like it's not as visceral as this was. Yeah. So yeah, that happens. Then then they okay, so they've done all that. They butchered this dude. He's dead, obviously. Then they take his torso and they season it. They're in there seasoning it like it's like a whole
some
pig
beef jerky
or something. Yeah. They're seasoning it and stuff, and then they cook the torso in like a hog spit, like in one of those brick ovens or something. They just slide it on in, like in a mud oven or something with some wood,
And that I think he got more
from.
They didn't really go into that detail in the old cannibal. And most of the time in the Italian cannibal movies, they were just and not that this would really happen back in the with cannibal tribes, but they would just hack them up, meet them right there, kind of like she was doing at first. They're not cooking them or anything. Yeah, eating them raw.
They're over there pulling out the Paula Deen cookbook.
Yeah.
On how to cook torsos with extra butter, and they take and they eat it, so they're eating pieces of it, and so then I think during this they cut back and forth with the people in the all the people that they have captured, the rest of them. There's 6 or 7 of them in there, and one of the girls, Amy, she gets sick, and she takes a shit. She's like, oh, I'm really sick. I'm gonna shit all over the place sick. So she runs over to the other corner of the cage while all the rest of them are they get away, and she just takes a big diarrhea shit in the corner. And I thought it was funny, all the native tribe kids, they're all pointing and laughing, ha ha ha. We gonna eat you. And then that's when later on that night after that, that's kind of when Alejandro spills the beans about what this all was. It was basically a paid PR stunt, the whole thing. We didn't really achieve anything. One company pays another company to kind of put a PR spin on what this is, and then all that means that a new crew will come in tomorrow and still abolish, knock out the rainforest.
Yeah.
So this is when you realize that he's King Horse's ass, right? He's a piece of shit. So that morning, the next morning, the tribesmen come and they take all the girls out. So I think it's basically 3 girls, 3 guys, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 4 guys, whatever the number is, 6 or 7. It's almost half and half. So they take all the girls out, and then the tribe leader, kind of has a little claw thing or something, and he sticks it up each girl's vagina. That's what she's doing, right?
Yeah, I think determining whether she's a virgin or not, I think.
Right, that's what I thought. I put a question mark by it because I wasn't dead sure what she was doing, but I was pretty sure that's what she was doing. Kind of sticking her finger up their vaginas to see if they're virgins. Then she gets to Justine, and blood comes out. I guess that determines she's a virgin, right?
Yeah, that's what I assumed too from that.
Yeah, so Justine is it. So they kind of put the other girls back in the cage, and they take Justine somewhere else, and they kind of prep her, they paint her up, and they do something else somewhere else in the village with her. Meantime, one of the girls, Samantha, she makes a run for it out of the cage. She gets out of the cage and makes a run for a canoe, and it looks like she got away. Eventually, Justine, the virgin, comes back. She's kind of acting stunned and drugged up, kind of, what the hell just happened? And she's all painted up, white body paint and all this stuff, little dots all over and stuff. Then they bring
A
some
direct
food.
reference. That scene made me think of a direct reference to at least 2 different cannibal Italian movies too. Was where they take the I guess the most, I don't know necessarily virgin at that point, but the most beautiful one or whatever of the group, and then paint them up, and they become sort of the figurehead. I think Dr. Butcher MD was a U.S. title for like Zombie Holocaust, which is one of the movies that they do that to one of the actresses in, and then another one was Eaten Alive by the Cannibals, Berto Lindsay movie.
I'm sure Eli Roth just takes it an extra step because you said that maybe they take the most beautiful girl or whatever. I'm sure because he took it an extra step and had her check their vaginas.
Check them, yeah.
Yeah, you know, because he could. Why not? Let's do it.
Yeah.
So eventually, like some of the kids of the tribe, they bring over some food for all of them, and they're kind of sitting there eating. And Justine has like this little flute necklace that was given to her by her mom or something, right? This little necklace that's got a flute on a little flute on it because apparently at one time she was an up and coming flautist that she just didn't want to do it anymore. But since she has this little flute necklace, that becomes the kind of like a central thing in the movie. That's why I bring it up. So she's kind of playing the flute necklace for them while they bring the food, and then all of them are kind of sitting there eating this bowl of food that they brought them. And Amy realizes, one of the girls, that they're eating Samantha, the girl that got out of the cage and ran for the canoe that you assume got away. Well, apparently she didn't get away, and they cooked her ass up like they did old Jonah.
Yep.
And they're sitting there eating her, and then that's when she's like, "Fuck this." Breaks the bowl and then takes a piece of it and slashes her own throat.
Yeah, that was pretty gruesome too. And then the way she realized it is she got to the bottom of the bowl, right? So after you've already eaten it, she sees a tattoo, like a piece of hunk of skin with a tattoo on it as the bottom of the bowl.
That's when she realizes, oh shit, we're eating Samantha.
Yeah. And then all the little kid tribe members are playing with the tattoos, like they had cut off the tattoos and were like putting them on each other.
Yeah. This is fun. So yeah, she does probably about the most sane thing that any of these people could do, and she breaks the bowl and cuts her own throat. Because honestly, that's probably the best way out of this situation.
Oh yeah. Because
I don't want to be eaten, but fuck it, I don't want to die horribly and then be eaten. So fuck it. So she bleeds out. She's dead. So they the red-haired guy. I'm blanking on what his name was. Name was right away. He's got like a bag of pot that was given to him earlier in the movie. It's supposed to be the good stuff. So they decide to stuff this bag of pot down Amy's throat because they're like, well, if they're gonna eat her, then fuck them. We're gonna mess with them. So they stuffed this huge bag of pot down her throat. So then,
by the way, this stuff must have truly been the most potent.
It must have been the most potent pot there ever has been grown.
Oh yeah.
Because what happens after that, of course, is the most ludicrous thing ever. But I mean, in Eli Roth's world, it in his humor, his world of humor, or whatever, it makes for a humorous, funny scene for sure. But
and this is
plausible,
also,
definitely not.
And this is also right after the main asshole Alejandro told him, like, what do you think that's gonna do? They eat pot for breakfast, like.
Oh yeah.
And they probably would, right? I mean, it's a native tribe. They probably just live off that shit. What would they do?
Down there in South America, there's a vine called ayahuasca, which is hallucinogen. They brew it up with a certain leaf that acts as like an MAOI inhibitor to allow the psychedelic properties of that vine to come through, and that's a part of the ritual. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that this pot is not going to really, make them.
Yeah,
not going to do that.
For these people, this is Tuesday. Like it's just what they do. But anyways, they do it. I guess you get whatever. I guess the theory is whatever amount of revenge you think you might be able to get. Why the fuck not? Right? Ain't gonna hurt. What are they gonna do with the pot anyways? Right? So they stuff it down her throat. So then it cuts to the next scene. Alejandro, the ass, he's sitting over in the corner, beating his meat. He's just sitting there. He's just sitting there blowing one off, like.
And why not? I mean,
with no real explanation other than like. What? I guess this is the way I want to go. I don't know. Like,
he said he was trying to relieve tension.
Yeah.
So he's trying to keep his mind sharp by jacking off in this horrible, horrible situation.
Yeah. At this point, you're like, yeah, this is a stress relief. Who, other than some, other kind of fetishistic,
yeah,
could like even get it up. in the situation where you're surrounded by cannibals, you haven't taken a shower, and who knows how long you're in the cave with other people, but you can,
Somehow he did, and he's over there going to town. And then one of the other guys, Daniel, is like, "What the fuck, man?" He goes there and starts attacking him. And then the tribesmen bust in and kind of break it up.
Hold on. I think you missed the most creepy part of that whole scene.
Yeah.
Okay. What did I miss?
The dude jumps on top of him and starts choking him out. So
So
then
what
looks
does he
him
do?
straight in the eye.
And starts going more vigorously.
I guess I didn't really want to dwell on the scene, so I just kind of forgot about it.
No, you're seeing that, and I'm just like, ugh.
No, I guess I just didn't pause it and rewind it like you did at that part.
Hey, man, it's the first time I ever saw it, so.
and that's the scene you're talking about where you had not.
And what would be awesome is if they let him finish, and then he says the Green Inferno, and then the end credits. So anyways, the other, like you say, he's choking him and he's staring at him while he's still playing with himself. Some of the natives come in and bust it up, and then that's when they realize that what was her name? Yeah, Samantha. I get all these names mixed up. This is when they realize that Samantha's dead. So they just kind of they try to drag her out of there, and they go ahead and cook her up, and then they eat her, and then they start getting high. They like the whole village is like high as a kite, and they're all
Kids,
passing out
everything.
and shit. Yeah, the kids, everything from eating the pot-filled girl. Now, once again, this is goofy as shit. That small amount, there's no way. Right? I mean, like, her whole body would have to be filled with pot for this possibly to happen, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if that could still happen. I mean, with it, just through the blood.
Yeah.
They would get that. I mean, even if she had, been smoking every day for the whole month, probably still couldn't,
But I guess he's probably, his mindset is probably like, look, if you're still with me on the cannibalism, you can be with me on,
if you're on the guy jerking off in the corner over here as stress relief, you can go with me on the
jerking off in this dude's jerking off in the same corner that the girl took a shit in. Then I guess you can get with me here, because frankly, I think I saw where there hasn't been cannibal tribes, at least not proven, for like hundreds of years, right? Something like that. Probably at least since the 1800s or early 1900s. Yeah. There are no such things as cannibal tribes. So I guess once you get past that, you can believe that they eat the body of the pot body and they get high. So that's what happens. They eat the pot body, and they all get high as a kite, and they all start like passing out and stuff. And Daniel and Justine managed to get out, and because I think by this point there's only the four of them left. Mm-hmm. And Alejandro or Lars is trying to climb out, and Alejandro sticks him with a dart, so he won't be alone in there, so they won't instantly eat him. Yeah. So he sticks him with the dart, and he passes out. So Lars is stuck in there with him, and then Lars wakes up to see natives like laughing, and they start biting him, and he's like, "Oh, they got the munchies."
That's probably the most ridiculous part of the whole movie. Is that point? Oh no, they got the munchies.
They got the munchies because they ate the pot body, and so he starts freaking out, and he runs away. And then they mob him, and then they just tear him apart. They don't even wait to cook him. I guess because they got the munchies, they go full cannibal and just eat them raw. So they just tear him up. And one of the little girls just runs away with his foot. Like as they're
there's this whole melee, like a melee of all the cannibals on top of him, like devouring him, and then through the melee, like underneath, comes a girl with just carrying the foot and walking towards the camera.
So then Justine, so it cuts to Justine and Daniel. They're trying to get away, and she jumps in the water, and she gets carried away by the current. And that's what I was referring to earlier, where the actress almost literally died in this scene. Eventually Daniel comes and grabs a hold of her, or it gets her sticks a limb in. She grabs it and pulls her out. So they make it back to the plane crash site because they're going back to look for the GPS that Daniel had. And once they get there, they see there's the bodies that were still there. I guess left from the wreckage. They're all stuck on like pikes. So there's 4, 5, 6 of them like kind of stuck on pikes all around the plane site. Clearly, there have been natives and some others there, or they're at the plane site. They finally find the GPS, and of course the battery's dead. Then they hear a phone, and it's on Carl's body. Carl was Alejandro's jealous girlfriend. So Justine reaches up and finds the phone, but then the body falls over or whatever, and then the natives arrive back. They found him, and then they blow dart him. So then Justine wakes up, and she's being rubbed down and prepped again. Like whatever they were going to do to the virgin girl, they're about to do it again. So they're back at the camp. Then it cuts to Daniel. He's kind of like he's strapped up to a pole, and the bald headhunter is just beating the shit out of him with like this club, like breaking his bones. He's like breaking his ankles and his legs and all that, right? That's kind of what I assume. He's just breaking all of his bones so he can't get away again, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I guess will be the.
Yep.
So then he starts rubbing Daniel down with this green paste type stuff from basically from head to toe, and then these giant ants that I'm sure they foreshadowing we're talking about earlier in the film in that professor's class. It's these ants. They crawl up and just cover them, and I guess they're biting on them, and I guess these are some type of poisonous ants, right?
Yeah, and I mean, of course, that was a CG scene, but
yeah.
I assume I think there are. I don't know those species of ants, but there are a species of
basically like
ants.
like killer ants or something that are really gonna fuck your world up. He gets covered in these things, and they're biting him and stuff, and so then basically cuts back to Justine being like prepped or whatever, and the tribe leader is in there. And it looks like they're about to do the vaginal mutilation thing, right? It looks like they're about to scoop her out and sew her up.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden one of the natives runs in with a severed head of one of the construction workers or whatever. So then everybody just scatters. So basically, I guess you're to assume like, okay, they're here, and then they're about to battle.
They're going
these guys, right?
they're going to war with the developers.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, Flute Necklace Boy shows up, and he unties Justine, and then she kind of like fakes that she's not, or she kind of does the old I'm still tied up, but I'm not, and grabs a hold of there's a big woman in there that's been prepping her. She grabs a hold of the nose ring and pulls it out. And then kind of kicks her or whatever, and that woman goes down. So then she goes out to find Daniel, and the ants, I guess, have kind of done their work, and they're not on him anymore. But he's still kind of hanging there, like half dead and out of it. And she gets his phone, and then he begs her to kill him. And then the Flute Boy does it. I don't even remember how he did it. What did he do to him? Like a couple blow darts?
I thought he just reached up and cut his throat, didn't he?
Yeah, maybe that's what I didn't make note of how he did it. But yeah, basically the Flute Necklace Boy just reaches up and he does a pity and kills the guy. So Justine's on her own basically. Well, she's with the Flute Necklace Boy, but they're running away. Then eventually, I guess they come to a parting of the ways or whatever, and she lets him keep the necklace. And then like she's running away from whoever's chasing her or whatever. She gets to a river, and there's a panther on the other side. Is that what the hell was it? Was it a jaguar? Or a panther?
Jaguar. Yeah, they had mentioned it earlier in the movie.
Yeah, because she was talking about, one of them was talking about getting that as her tattoo, right? Because they saw the jaguar up there. She said, oh yeah, jaguar. That's my next tattoo.
Once again, some more foreshadowing earlier in the film. So yeah, there's a jaguar over there. She crosses, and like the thing doesn't really do anything to her. She gets to the other side and then basically walks right into the middle of the native militia war. Like, basically right smack dab in the middle of it. They're shooting at each other and throwing darts and arrows and shit. It's all going down. And so then,
and of course, she's still all done up, like with the makeup and stuff, or with the ointment and stuff they put on her. She looks like a tribal member herself, kind of.
Yeah, with the virgin makeup or whatever. She's still got all that on. So she walks. She's got Daniel's phone. She walks out like holding it up, like I'm filming this. And I'm with the UN or whatever. She threatens the UN on them, and then she just throws the phone down and breaks the phone. I guess that kind of.
So they can't go and look.
Yeah, so I guess that kind of gives them the trust that whatever. They kind of break away and like take her away to the chopper. So she's been saved. The natives, I guess, kind of start getting laid out by the militia or whatever. They're still kind of doing their thing, but she got out of there. Then it shows back at the camp, Alejandro still in that cage, and then he gets darted, and knocked out. All right, then it cuts back to Justine, and now she's safe. She's back home, and she basically tells the story that everybody died in the crash, and that native tribe saved her, and doesn't know anything about cannibalism. I guess to save the tribe. I don't know.
Or the little boy. I don't know.
I guess maybe like, I want to help Flute Necklace Boy. So I'll do them a favor. Like, yeah, they weren't cannibals. They actually helped us out, and I wouldn't have survived without them.
And I guess to kind of cover her own tracks from, leaving that guy to be eaten.
Yeah. So then, like, later on, Alejandro arrives, and he says, "Hey, I made it out. I can't believe it." And then she turns, and she's got piranha teeth, and she bites him. Then she wakes up. It was all night. That part was a nightmare. Once again, random, but I guess, you're showing the trauma of this whole thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But I almost, for a split second, thought they were going with, like, some supernatural element of things here. Like, what? And then, no, it was just a dream. She looks out the dorm window, and it's almost like the very beginning of the movie when she wakes up, looks out the dorm window, and there's protesters. Except this time, now the protesters are out there, and they're wearing Alejandro shirts. Like, he's got his face on it. So now he's like the martyr. Then you see the Green Inferno title screen. Then there's some credits. Then there's a mid-credit scene. Did y'all hang around to see this?
I did not.
There's a mid-credit scene. Justine gets a phone call. The phone's ringing. She answers it, and it's Alejandro's sister, and she says she saw him on a satellite image, and that's what you see. I don't even think you see Justine. It's just like she picks up the phone, and then you see like this weird satellite
blurry image of a satellite image of Alejandro looking up at the.
Yeah, and it keeps zooming in, and then you see an image of Alejandro looking up, like at the satellite, like he would see that, whatever. But it's like he's looking up, and like I wanted to talk to you about Alejandro. I think he's still alive. And then the credits roll, and then that's the end of the credits. So I didn't. So Will, you didn't hang around for that?
No.
So I'm guessing that's just planting a seed for if you wanted to do a second one. And apparently, there has been talk of a sequel. That apparently there will be another one of these made. As recently as like the last year.
Oh, really? Yeah, I haven't heard that. Yeah. So that'd be real surprising considering how I know it didn't do all that well overall. Of course, I mean it barely made its. I mean, it probably didn't really make its money back, unless you count in the whole international thing. But
yeah, it sounds like, at least from what I could tell, as far back as say like a year or so ago, it sounds like he's still intending on swinging back around and doing this one day. So I guess maybe that's the seed that was planted, is that Alejandro's still alive, and I don't know if that's a sequel anybody wants, but we'll see.
Alejandro's Revenge.
Also, so this is what I was getting to earlier. So at the very end, at the credits, it says a brief history of the Italian cannibal genre and their many names, along with their directors and their many names. And then it lists a bunch of different. I guess it was like kind of like all the movies, or maybe some of the movies that were released during that late 70s, early 80s time period. It mentions Man from Deep River.
Yeah, that's the very first one. If you wanted to trace or put blame on why there's a Green Inferno, it was Man from Deep River, or AKA Deep River Savages. There's a few different names for it.
Last Cannibal World.
Yeah.
Emmanuel and the Last Cannibals.
Oh yeah, for those softcore porn moments in cannibalism. Got that.
Anything with Emmanuel in it's going to have some soft porn, right?
I actually have that on VHS. Oh, I do, but that's a different story.
Sorry,
and it wasn't called that. It was called Trap Them and Kill Them on the VHS title.
Mountain.
I've never heard of this Emmanuel. Do tell.
Oh yeah, yes.
You and why haven't we done it?
I actually rented that. I got another story about that. Maybe we'll get around to watching that for the shit now.
Yeah, maybe. Why haven't we done any of these movies yet? Mountain of the Cannibal God, Cannibal Holocaust, of course.
Oh yes, that's the granddaddy.
Eaten Alive, Cannibal Apocalypse, Cannibal Ferox, and Amazonia. And
I think Amazonia might have been the one that was retitled to the Green Inferno in some countries.
And it's funny if you get a chance to go back and check this out, because it's at the end of the credits when they're talking about all this. Like I said, it says a brief history of the Italian cannibal genre and their many names. So with each one of those titles, it gives you the other titles
Oh, okay.
And then it says along with their directors and their many names. So it has the director there, and then all the 40 names that the directors ever went under. Because some of these dudes had like 5, 6, 7, 8 different names that they directed movies under.
And that was because back then, I remember because I used to try and track some of these movies down. I was looking for the Italian ones, but it was hard to find because I don't know, whatever the stigma is back then was if it was a foreign movie and you're on the U.S. VHS video market, if it has an American name on it, people are more apt to rent that movie. So Lucio Fulci would become Louis Fuller. You get Bruno Mattei would be his name was like Vincent Dawn, and you get all these different Americanized names because they were trying to hide the fact that it was an Italian film or European film. So kind of hard to track them down back then without the internet.
And then they would shit the bed that when you got 5 minutes in, you realized that this was an Italian movie.
Oh yeah. As soon as they start talking and you're like, their lips aren't matching, and they sound like,
what's going on here?
Now for me, I was happy. I was happy for that. I was like, reading it, like, okay, is this going to be one? Oh yes, it is an Italian one. That was the exact opposite.
All right,
so that is Eli
Roth, Green Inferno. What the hell? Suspiria. I can tell you right now, Will, you're in trouble. You're in trouble, brother, because if you didn't like Suspiria, man, just hold your hat.
Oh yeah, and then the last two, when they were talking about that whole, given that Italian cannibal history and everything at the end credits, it was a song. The music track is from Cannibal Ferox, or one of the tracks from Cannibal Ferox. Did it? I forget what.
In the credits.
Yeah, not in the beginning of the credits because I don't remember what that was. Just whatever composer was composing the soundtrack to Green Inferno. But after that, once it gets to that part about the Italian cannibal history, that's that track that's playing is from Cannibal Ferox, or Make Them Die Slowly, another title.
So I guess with that, I mean, anything else you guys wanted to add to the Green Inferno here, or I think we've said enough.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yep.
All right, so that, once again, like I said, that was Eli Roth's 2015 movie, The Green Inferno. Will, we usually put a scale of 0 to 5 stars on these movies. So where are you landing?
I'm gonna hit right around a 3. Wasn't the best movie, wasn't the best movie, but then it came around for me a little bit more at the end. So yeah, I'd give it a 3. I can't give it a Suspiria grade.
I don't know if that's what you meant as good or bad.
That's not good.
Oh, okay. I just looked it up, and you gave Suspiria 2.5 stars. So yeah, there you go. All right, Smoke, where are you at?
I'm at about 2.5 maybe for this one.
Oh, you giving it the old Suspiria? That's what anything at 2.5 or lower will be known as now, the Suspiria.
Except for the record, though, what was mine? I forget. Was mine 4.5 for Suspiria or 5? I can't remember.
Yours for Suspiria was 4.5, yeah, and mine was 4. Yeah. So.
That's right.
we looked at it a little differently than old Will over there.
Hey, I mean, I can see. I can definitely see Will's point though coming into it. If you had never seen it before or seen a lot of other Italian movies before, Italian horror movies, anyways. I get it.
Mm-hmm. I saw The Italian Job.
Have you ever watched like old Clint Eastwood spaghetti western movies like
Good, Bad, and the Ugly?
Any of those? Have you seen any of those? Will? At any point?
I'm sure at some point I've seen them. I just can't remember in particular.
Because those would be more shining examples of Italian movies.
Of the Italian film. Yeah. But also a lot of those techniques are used, even though the storyline is, of course, a lot more coherent than Italian horror movies.
Absolutely.
Those effects, or at least the cinematography and everything, they would apply a lot of that to the Italian horror movies too, because they were very technical, I guess, more technical than they were storytellers.
Yeah. Will, you give it 3 stars. Smoke, you give it 2.5. I'm gonna go 2.5 as well. I mean, this movie, I don't know if it's something I would go out of my way to see again. I didn't hate it. It's just
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd bend over to go watch it again. To be honest with you, it's like maybe if there was nothing else on TV. I don't have access to the internet. I don't feel like getting up to put a Blu-ray in.
Watching this movie.
Exactly. That's my point. I don't know if I.
Well, a lot of times when I'm watching it too, I'm thinking, I could just be watching Cannibal Holocaust or Cannibal Ferox.
Yeah. I could go watch a better example of this genre.
Or even Dr. Butcher MD for that matter, which by the way is a personal favorite of mine. We need to get around to that on the show.
Sure, we will.
That's an entertaining in a good bad way.
That's our hope, is to get around to everything eventually, right?
Yeah, I know.
So keep doing this long enough, and maybe we will.
One movie a month.
And with that, I guess we'll at this rate, one every month and a half with the
and one thing before the closing thoughts is another thing I was just thinking of on that satellite shot. They should have had that satellite shot get closer and closer and closer, and then when you get to it, it's actually Alejandro whacking off in the corner or something. That would have fit in with Eli Roth with his humor. Staring at the camera like a big grin on his face.
It's how I relieve tension. Somehow they haven't ate his ass yet. They're just letting him sit in there and beat it.
Well, would you go in the middle of that?
Touch it. And then he gets more excited as they get closer. He gets more excited. I'm like, no, we're backing off of this one.
Yeah, I think we've said enough.
All of a sudden, it goes slapstick and it bonks him in the head.
Yeah. Then for some reason, it's the Gods Must Be Crazy movie.
Oh yeah, with the Coke bottle.
Yeah. I know that has nothing to do with horror, but we should watch that one of these days. That's all.
Oh yeah, it's been a while for me for that one too. But yeah.
So this has been episode 10. So episode 11 of the Spook Show, we're going to be going back to the 80s, 1986, and we're going to watch the cult classic 80s horror favorite movie of most, I'd say, Critters, the original Critters. We figured it'd probably be an appropriate time to check this one out again, since there's a new Critters show on Shudder called Critters: A New Binge, which I don't think any of us have watched that yet. But and I don't even know how deeply it ties into that. I'm sure some of the mythos is there, right? At least from the original movie. Yeah. And also there's supposed to be a new Critters movie coming out, I think later this year or next year, called Critters Attack.
Just when you thought Critters 4 wasn't enough for you.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a revival for Critters. So I figured we'd tap into that a little bit, and we'll go back to the original from 1986. The very brief IMDb synopsis for Critters is: a group of small furry aliens makes lunch out of the locals in a farm town. So there you go. That's all you need to know. So I guess before we wrap it up, is there anything else you guys want to add about Green Inferno? Anything else?
No, I think we pretty much said it all.
Yeah. All right. So I guess until next time, I'm Josh, and for Will and Smoke, this has been the All-American Spookshow Podcast, and we'll see you next time, guys. Appreciate it.
See ya.
Later.